Hey there, Mavericks! Woo! Welcome back to my channel, Networking Maverick Community. Thank you so much for being a part of it, and I'm so glad you came back. And also for allowing me to be your choo-choo conductor on the $1 million 2019 train, pulling into the station. That's right. And if you're here, it's because we're about to talk about planning. The tip number 3 from taking your net work and turning it into net worth. Just a quick recap for those that might have skipped ahead a few videos, huh? 1, you need to identify your target market. Identify your target market's target market as well. So I know that was a mouthful, but if you know where your target market's ideal client is, that's where there will be networking. So you want to identify those as well as your different streams, where you're getting your referrals from. Identify events of those referral sources because you want to build those connections as well. Then you go into tip number 2. That's research. One of my personal favorites. I happen to really love research, but for those that don't, we gave you some tips in that video, and I think they were pretty good. You can go to Eventbrite, you can go to meetup events, you can go on Facebook, Instagram. Don't forget to ask, word of mouth. You got this. You can just sit down with someone and say, hey, what events do you go to? What do you like? What a novel idea, right? One-on-one connections. That's what we're all about here in the Networking Maverick community. So we might as well leverage it. Brings us to tip 3, planning. Today, my hope is by the end of the video, you'll be able to write down a plan for your next networking event that you'll be able to execute, because you're gonna what? Number 4, show up. Yep, you're gonna do it. You're gonna show up to that event and you're gonna crush it because you went through steps 1 through 3 and you're ready to execute the plan. And then afterwards, you're gonna follow up. That's step number 5. Let's dive right in it. We're about to get into the plan. You have a pen and paper ready? Because we're gonna write some stuff down today. That's right, you gotta do your legwork on your end as well. You can just listen to me, that's fine. But it's better if you actively engage with the video as well. By the way, if you found any value, if you've gone through any of the tips we discussed before, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. You can always slide into my DMs. Let me know, but I'd love to know what you're doing, what can add value to everyone else. If you have any tips on top of my tips, the dual layer tips squared that you got, drop it in the comment, let everyone know. Let's add value for everyone. So you've all heard it, the plan. You know the quotes, failure to plan is a plan to fail. Proper planning prevents poor performance. The reason everyone talks about it is because it's true. It's so important. Having a plan, making an efficient use of your time, putting in the legwork beforehand, it's key. It's the key to success, really. Everyone has the willingness, but not everyone has the plan, the legwork. That's the key to success. Drop a major key alert on you right now. All right, so let's get into it. Jot this down. Set a realistic goal. I talk about it all the time. I like to meet 3 people and make meaningful connections with them at every event. Don't overwhelm yourself. You don't need to go into every event thinking, I gotta meet everyone here, I gotta give everyone a business card. Yes, you should have business cards, and if you make more than 3 connections, great. You know, if you feel like you're in a good headspace, that you have the right mindset and you can make these meaningful connections, go for it. I feel so accomplished when I make those 3 connections. I think, check in my head. I love doing checks, by the way, that tangible feedback. Check, like I did it, I made my goal. It's already been a successful event. Now everything else is just icing on the cake, right? So I like to set that realistic goal ahead of time. And to know those 3 meaningful connections, I like to make a list. So let's right now think of the next networking event you want to go to. And now think of 3 people that are going to be at that event. For instance, do you know the speaker? Jot down the speaker's name. Look that speaker up on Instagram, on Facebook. What are they doing? What are their interests? Do you have any commonalities? For all of these, for whether it's the speaker, the organizers, just attendees, anyone that's going to these events, it's really great to know what similarities you have with them, because that's where you're going to build the connections from. It's just common sense that people want to connect with people that they like, right? Like you want to develop those connections, and if they don't like you, you're not gonna get past anything that's more than just, you know, facial, right? You want to dive deeper. You really want to build that relationship, and commonalities is one of those huge ways you can just develop a relationship right off the bat. For instance, I've moved around a lot, so I've lived in a lot of different places, so I can talk about my experiences with a lot of different people that have probably lived in one of those places. Another one is if you like sports, your favorite sports teams or just sports in general. If you like a certain nonprofit, if you believe in the same charities, building community. For instance, for me, I love building community and I try to get involved in anything that's about or surrounding building community. That's a commonality. Empowering women. When I meet women at empowerment events, like right off the bat, we're all there knowing we want to support each other and other women in the community. So that's something I'm like, oh, what are you doing to empower women? And I went to a few weeks back a Nest of Love event where I met all these amazing panelists that were empowering women in the community and in their fields. Like, it's so amazing meeting them. But you got to research them ahead of time too. You got to know what they're going to be doing in the future. If they're launching any new projects, it's always nice for someone to come up to me and say, hey, I noticed you're starting this Networking Maverick community, that you've released a newsletter. I really love what you're doing. I'd love to contribute, something like that. So it makes me already feel like, wow, this person already looked me up. Like, I'm flattered that they even know a little bit about me. And now, I want to get to know them. I'm more open and engaged with the conversation. So you want to make a list of your top people that you'd want to meet. It doesn't have to be just 3. You can list out multiple people, but then engage with 3 of them. And then next to it, write down what you found out about them online. I know not everyone likes a cyber stalk, right? And I don't really consider it cyber stalking. If they're the speakers or they're the organizers or they're being honored at the event, it's because they're doing something in the community. They already put their name out there. They're public figures. So I just think, obviously I probably wouldn't go up to someone and be like, oh, I saw that your niece's brother had a baby that you were in. Like, no, that's like, woof, that's too much. Just the basics of what they like, what they don't like, any events that they have, anything they're creating, community building, things like that. Those are commonalities where they're from that you can engage with. So it's nice to have notes and to look at the person's picture, because at the event, when you show up in step 4, you're going to be able to identify them in the crowd better. You'll be able to see them and be like, oh, I think that's someone I want to connect with. And part of that planning to me is showing up early and engaging with those people that you made the list for, and afterwards write down a note, what their email is, maybe what their address is, what you talked about, so that when you do your follow-up, you'll have those notes already prepared. Another part of the planning is practice your canned, I don't want to call it a pitch, but just how you would describe yourself in like an elevator speech. You're immediately engaging with someone, maybe they say, what do you do? What are you doing? Can you, in a very succinct and engaging, interesting way, describe what you're doing? Make sure you practice that in front of the mirror. My tagline for Networking Maverick is empowering the community through authentic connections. I could also go with, I want to engage, educate, motivate, and empower people, right? These are all little ways of saying what I'm doing. I'm creating a platform to empower women in the community, to build relationships, to take your network and turn it into net worth. All these ways, these are succinct, fun, interesting ways that maybe they'll have more questions about, but you need to practice it. You need to practice it in front of a mirror. You need to talk about it with other people to see, hey, should I say it like this? I run it by so many people in my life to say, do you find this interesting? Sebastian probably gets tired of of dealing with all the different ways I'm thinking, but he's my rock, so he wants to build that empire with me. So he knows you got to find yourself a partner like that. You just want to go with that and practice in the mirror, practice with other people, and make sure you tailor it for every event. So if I'm going to a women's empowerment event, maybe I'll say, oh, I'm actually interviewing networking mavens that I want to have on the platform. If you're interested, I would love to have you to highlight your business. Or if I'm going to an event that's surrounding the legal side, I'll highlight my law firm more, but I'll also say, oh, but I have a passion for helping women entrepreneurs develop a business, and I want to engage, educate, and empower them both through the law and through my Networking Maverick platform that I've just developed. Just things like that. If you tailor it and you make it unique and you practice the different ways, it's very, very engaging and it's very helpful, and it'll make you feel more comfortable when you get that question, especially for people that go into events and don't feel as comfortable networking right off the bat. Practicing and making sure you've written down on your plan how you're going to pitch yourself at this specific event, how you're going to tailor your little canned elevator speech. You're going to be much more comfortable, much more relaxed and engaging overall. You're going to make those connections, and that's what the focus will be, and not on whether you messed up and get flustered and then embarrassed and run away. You don't want to do that. Let's make those connections. Let's practice. obviously have business cards. I always find it very difficult when someone says they don't have them. I know that some people just run out of them. I've run out of them before. It's not a huge deal, but I really do like getting those business cards because I like to either write notes about that person. I also like to make comments on business cards. I like to look at them and say whatever I find interesting about their card. If I don't have anything to say, I just don't say it. But I like to point out something that's interesting about their logo, the card type. But I like having those cards. I like getting that feedback. And when someone doesn't have a card, it makes me think, what are they doing? You know, are they not invested in their business? I do not have one yet for Networking Maverick because usually the business cards I bring are my law firm. But if you have some type of business card, I think it's important for you to bring. The last thing I'll say about the plan isn't necessarily writing it down in your plan, but it's just planning for the event properly. Do you know the dress code? Is it a casual event? Is it business casual? Is it fancy? The worst thing that could probably happen to someone, especially someone that's maybe new at networking, is to show up and stand out for the wrong reasons at a networking event. If it's activewear, if you're gonna wear athleisure, that's fine. Just know ahead of time because you don't wanna show up in your best Armani suit and everyone's doing yoga and athleisure, right? Like you obviously did not plan or research properly. There was some disconnect there and you're gonna look out of place, and hey, maybe it's a conversation starter, maybe you wanna try it, but I personally like to look more the part. That could be something you do. Let me know in the comments if that's happened to you. You showed up to the event wearing the wrong thing. Did it work out well? Did it not? I don't know. But I personally like to research ahead of time to look more in line with what everyone else is going to be wearing. Sometimes I do like to be fancier, like even if I know it's a cocktail, maybe I want to look very fancy that night. I have a new outfit. But then at least I planned ahead. I was purposefully wearing this outfit instead of showing up just being unprepared. And then the second thing with researching the event ahead of time is there going to be food or drinks? I like to eat a little bit ahead of time because I know that I don't like to eat the beginning of events when I get there. I want to be engaging with people. I like to have a drink, maybe a glass of water with a lime in it, so that I'm not necessarily imbibing yet in the alcohol. But some people need that. The social lubricant might loosen you up. But I like to have a drink in my hand to look more engaged in the event. I don't want to eat yet because that's going to take away from the actual connection. I'm going to be worried, do I have something in my teeth? Do I look awkward the way I eat this bacon? I love bacon, but I know it can look a little weird when you eat it. So I don't want to worry about that. That's something I'm going to do at the end after I've made my meaningful connections and I'm getting into the icing on the cake. Then I'll start eating. I'll have a snack or a meal ahead of time so that I'm not too hungry throughout, but I still want to have that drink in hand to mix and mingle, to make those connections. Have you written all of this down? Did you write down your plan? If not, I would say let's do that now. Set it out, lay out for the next networking event, where you're going to be going, what your goal is, write down the person or a couple different people you want to meet, set out some of the likes, the commonalities that you have with them, things you could bring up in a conversation. Don't forget to practice that candle elevator pitch, tailor it for the event, research ahead of time, bring those business cards. You can get them on Vistaprint very fast if you don't have any yet. You can also use my friend at Fast Science Coral Gables if you want to have a nice graphic designer help you with it as well. But don't forget, dress appropriately and eat beforehand so you have a nice full event coming before going. I hope that you found this video helpful in the planning of your networking event. It's going to help you turn that network into net worth. Everyone wants success, right? Everyone has a willingness for success, but it's those that plan that are going to succeed. They have the plan to succeed, purposeful interactions. I hope that you have a plan now. Let me know afterwards. Drop a comment. How did it work out? If you have any feedback on the community that you'd like to share with everyone, let's help each other rise up. So don't forget, ring that bell below, subscribe. You don't want to miss out on next part 4. We'll be talking about showing up. You know, I know it sounds easy, but it's something that people miss out on, and it's really preventing you from connecting and engaging with people. So you want to know what's coming up in the community there. You can also go to networkingmaverick.com. You can follow the blog. You can subscribe to our monthly newsletter. You'll get a legal learning series in there from Marsicano and Leyva, help you out with your business. Don't forget to also, if you feel like you have so much to share with this community, I want to feature you. Fill out the Networking Mavens questionnaire on networkingmaverick.com. Let's connect. Let me learn about you, and maybe we'll have you on here teaching everyone else, adding value to this community. I can't wait to hear from you. Slide into those DMs, drop a comment below, subscribe wherever you can, however you can get this information. I want to give it to you. I want to make it so easy to help you get to those millions of dollars in 2019. Let's get it. Thank you so much. Networking Maverick out. Happy connecting.